A lot of investors understand depreciation benefits on the way in when they purchase property, but a lot of them don't really understand the depreciation recapture consequences on the way out. So if you're selling your investment real estate or even buying your investment real estate, you need to understand depreciation recapture and capital gains and bonus depreciation, which we'll touch on right at the end. When you buy investment real estate, you're entitled to depreciate the property. A lot of investors understand that. A good use of depreciation on a property is to offset the income so you receive most of the income that you receive on your property tax deferred. Okay, so you get a much lower tax rate, more money for you from the property. But like all things, the IRS remembers that you use depreciation. Okay, so when you use depreciation, the IRS wants that back when you sell the property. Okay, and the only way to avoid paying that money back is to implement a 1031 exchange. So Section 1031 of the tax code basically states that when you sell the property, if you hire a qualified intermediary, you can defer the taxes, right, into the new property. So from a bookkeeping perspective, it's almost as if you're still in the same property. Okay, so you can defer those taxes. However, if you don't do a 1031 exchange, depreciation recapture happens at 25%. So if you've depreciated a property, let's say by $100,000, well, you're facing a $25,000 tax bill if you don't do a 1031 exchange. Now, the capital gains, there are other factors that drive that one, but usually combined, we're seeing an active rate of over 30%, as high as 40% on every dollar above what they call your adjusted cost basis in the property. Okay? So it's very important for you to speak to your advisor and CPA about what is your depreciation recapture number, what is your capital gains number, and depending on the proportion to your sale, there's some other strategies that you can use to offset or defer those taxes. And one of the new strategies, well, it's not a new strategy, but one of the strategies that's been enhanced by the big, beautiful bill that was passed this past summer is bonus depreciation. Now, bonus depreciation has been pushed back to 100%, okay? So now, if you have a failed 1031 exchange, or let's say you have a partial 1031 exchange where you're going to be taxed on some boot money, you now have some strategies to offset that depreciation recapture and the capital gains. And how do you do that? By deploying bonus depreciation. Part of the tax code states that if 50% or greater of your business comes from fuel sales, you're entitled to take bonus depreciation when you invest in that business. And basically what I just said was gas stations, okay? So gas stations, most of the revenue is generated from selling gas, which is fuel. Now, there's some programs out there where you can take 100% bonus depreciation. So let's say I have a tax of $100,000 of capital gains from some leftover boot that I wasn't able to place during a 1031 exchange. If I take half that money, $50,000, and put it in a bonus depreciation program, now in these programs, they leverage it 50%. So if I put $1 in, I'm getting $2 of bonus depreciation. So 50,000 times 2 equals 100,000. So I'm going to get $100,000 of bonus depreciation to offset the 100,000 of cap gains and depreciation recapture. So in effect, I can invest my way to offset the capital gains and depreciation recapture. So these are one of the many strategies that investors should be looking at. But the first step, find out what your numbers are. When you sell that property, what are you facing? And plan. Planning ahead makes what you're going to do much easier because now you have a strategy in place. So got a strategy to make sure you have replacement property, and or, hey, I'm going to have some leftover capital gains and depreciation recapture. What's my strategy to deal with it? Planning ahead is always better than trying to fix the problem after it's happened. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, and check out our other videos.